The references told her everything she needed to know. Drama with past managers, a pattern that couldn't be ignored. She hired her anyway. Stay tuned for another great episode of Bad Boss Confessional. Hi, I'm Beth Fahey, and this is Bad Boss Confessional, where real leaders get honest about the mistakes that made them better. Before we dive in, a quick thank you to our sponsors who helped make this show possible. Do you love running on EOS? Try Strutty, the EOS platform people love. Native integrations and extra features help you manage people, projects, process, and engagement. Connected to your favorite EOS tools and all in one place. You love EOS. It's time to love the platform you're running it on. Try Strutty free at strutty.com. That's STRETY.com. Strutty, the EOS platform people love. Let's be honest, hiring the right people is hard. That's why I love Titus Talent Strategies. Their whole person hiring approach helps you find and keep A players who align with your values, and they back it with an industry leading guarantee. Best part? Titus Talent Strategies is included in the entrepreneurial toolkit for companies running on EOS. Check them out at titustalent.com/EOS. My guest today has spent more than 40 years helping businesses grow and leadership teams get healthy. As an expert EOS implementer, she's worked with over 130 companies and facilitated more than 2,000 EOS sessions. She's also the co author of People, the EOS book built on building intentional cultures where great people can thrive. Welcome to Bad Boss Confessional, CJ Dube.
Hi, thank you so much, Beth. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's so great to see you, CJ. I was just marveling at your numbers. 2,000 sessions. I mean, holy cats, that's a lot of sessions.
Well, when it's really your obsession, I might say it's my passion, and it is my passion for sure, but I'm a little obsessed as well. And at the end of the day, the joy that I get from it is sure, I'm a teacher, facilitator, coach, but I get to learn all day long as well because all these companies and their unique backgrounds and the unique people and the industries they're in, it feeds me as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's what's so great about this work is that we learn so much about different businesses, and it's so funny how they're all so different, yet they're all still so much alike.
It's so true. Been here before, been here before.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, and it's hard to not just be like, "All right, let's just get to the end because 'cause I've seen this movie before," right? As an EOS implementer,
Yeah.
sometimes we just have to ask the right questions to get them through the process in the way that they need to.
And I think we need to stay curious as well. I keep my curious mind open, so I am asking questions. So I am curious about what's going on, and I can get to that root issue with them.
Mhm, mhm. Well, you've seen a lot as far as clients go in the session room, and, I'm just curious about what you did before you were an EOS implementer. I know you've been really busy since you became one, but what did you do before you were an implementer?
Thank you for asking. I spent about 25 years in the placement industry. So I did temporary placement, contract placement, and permanent placement. I cut my teeth placing technicians and engineers, civil, electrical, robotic engineers. So at one point in my career, long time ago, I had like 50 people contracted into 3M. So yeah, and so I stayed on that track for a lot of years. I did leave for a few years and went to a facilities management company, but again, it was providing people and putting in copy centers and mail centers. So I was doing both. I was doing both equipment and people into placement into facility management. And then I spent several years at a large international staffing firm where I had 5 divisions of permanent placement, placing IT, legal, banking, HR, IT, all the things. Then left, sat out a non-compete, and launched, the HR contract consulting business with 2 partners, and we grew that from 0 to 8 million in 3 years.
Wow. Wow. So you have been in the people business your entire life.
My entire life. You could even date me back to the time when I was a restaurant manager and I had 40 waitresses, and I was 20.
You were bossy like I was.
Yes, totally. Absolutely. That and a little bit of kill 'em with kindness, kind of the combined, right? Kill 'em with kindness, bossy.
Yeah, yeah, it's a balance, isn't it? It's like add pressure, take away pressure, I mean, you learn early when you're in the food business, for sure.
Yeah.
Wow. So, okay, people. I would say people is the number one issue that my clients experience. Would you agree?
82% of the time, survey after survey, always proves to be the hardest part is the people component.
I wanna ask a ton more about your book, the people book, a little later in the podcast, but we all know why you're here. You're here to confess something. You couldn't have always been great with people, right, CJ? I
No.
mean, just like the rest of us, it's like, we learn on the job and it's a journey. So I would love to hear your confession.
I could give you a lot of confessions. There's not just one, to be totally honest. Um, but I would say around the people component part of it is, um, just to give a little context to start, is to say that I had to figure out me and how to be the me leader, manager, and hold people accountable, right? And so through that journey of figuring that out, I've made hires that turned out badly. And part of it was my fault, to be totally honest, was because I I'm not a very good I'm not a good micromanager, right? That I'm a hands-off manager. That's just who I am because I'm a visionary at heart. I can integrate, and I did integrate in my businesses for sure, but I'm a hands off. So I think the biggest confession is there was one hire I made and I just let it go too long. I have someone that I hired and super sharp, super smart person for sure. Hired her into talent management. And I used the top grading system, Brad Smart's top grading system. And I used the system, and then I went against the grain of it because I was like, "This won't happen to me." I watched a pattern of someone, and, this person, she had left 3 other businesses, and every business she'd gone sideways with the owner or the CEO. But she won't do that to me. She loves me. I'm great. Well, a year in, it started to happen. And I'm like, "Oh," looking in the rearview mirror going, "Oh, I did not even follow my own process, and here it is." And at the end of the day, a person's a person, their patterns are their patterns. We can all break patterns, but we have to focus on breaking those patterns. But she didn't, and she really started going to my partners and complaining and not being happy. Long story short, she wasn't with us after that, but at the same time, I look in the rearview mirror and I went, "Ugh, that was not good, that was not healthy." And so I've learned a couple of things. One is when I am hiring someone, I literally describe myself to them so they understand who I am, how I manage, because I'm like, one of your requirements is you have to tap me on the shoulder if you need something, because that's how I am. I run 90 miles a minute, right? And so I need one of the requirements is I will coach you, I will help you, I will teach you, I will do all the things and we'll block off time to do that. But if you really feel like you need something, you need to tap me on the shoulder and say, "Hey, When I was with the large international staffing firm, I kinda created this rule because I had 5 divisions and I had a lot of people. So I created 911, 411, and 611. 911, I joked with everyone, I go, "If there's blood, it's 911, you guys. Otherwise, there really isn't a 911." Right? 611 is, "I need you, and I need you in the next couple of days, or I can't close the deal I wanna close, or I need help." Right? Which could be, usually was within 24 hours, worst case 48. 411 was, "I feel like I need coaching, I need help, I want some more training," and so I would block off the time. So I kinda put that power in them to actually manage me.
Wow. What a great concept. I mean, and talk about setting clear expectations. Wow. Yeah, I mean, when you were telling your story, I'm like, "Wow, CJ, are we the same person?" Because that's how I used to manage people too. I'd be like, but I didn't give them the clue that you have to tell me, like, this is a two-way street. We both need to communicate because I was still stuck in that thinking, top down. I'm disseminating information to you and you're just receiving it and you're going out and executing. Because I think a lot of us grew up with that concept.
I agree with that. I just started finding that it was better if I back to us being what we've learned now with EOS is open and honest. I think I was that way before, right? I didn't expand it as much as I have now, but I very much was like, "Okay, this is who I am now, and this is what," and I had to learn that. I learned it at a young age. When you have 40 waitresses and you have several of them that are 20 and 30 years older than you have to figure out how to manage different people, different styles, and that's where it started. And then I ended college and all the things, so it's just over the years I figured out how to do. And but I still can go back and say, there was a time when I was on the leadership team for EOS Worldwide where I felt the pressure to hire someone. I felt this pressure to fill this seat. And I shortcutted my own system and process. And at the end of the day, the person was there for about a year and then she resigned, but it was because I didn't give her everything she needed. And yet she really wasn't the right fit in the beginning either, because I think I went too fast. So I coach on it a lot, and it's like even I, having taught this stuff, can still make a mistake. So it's in our heads to kinda go slow to go fast. My motto's always been hire slow, fire fast, and it's continues to be my motto.
Yeah, and there's a lot in this phrase. Now, this is a phrase that we say a lot as EOS implementers to our clients, go slow to go fast. And there is a lot to unpack on this. It's not just, hire slow, fire fast. There's so much more to this. So could you talk about how you see this in sessions and like just go deeper on this concept?
Yeah, when I, talk I of course, because this is my background, right? So I do end up talking to a lot of my clients about hiring, and I do help them and coach them. So when I say hire slow, fire fast, it's not about time. It's about following your process. So for us, it's what are the core values? Are they matching the core values? And doing the questions, asking those behavioral interview questions that they need to ask to make sure that they're fitting the values. Don't just tell them the values. Any person's going to say, "Yeah, I fit those values." No, we need to dig a little deeper and ask the questions. Ask about the business, ask about what their background. Tell me about a time when you had a difficult project. Things like that. So asking those behavioral interview questions to make sure that people are balancing the core values that you have, that you're a good fit. Because here's the thing, any hire that we make that doesn't turn out ends up costing every business a lot of money. You hire someone at $100,000 a year, it's gonna cost you 200 if they don't work out in a year. Not to mention all the soft things that affected everything around it. So, core values, and then dive into the seat, making sure you're 100% clear on what are the roles and responsibilities in the seat that you want, and then ask, do they get it? God-given talent to do the job. Are they showing you they passionately want it? And do they have the capacity, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual capacity to do the job? And just keep remembering, everyone, what happens is when you have values and they GWC, that's right people, right seats. Okay. But over time, just be in their natural GWC flow, people can fall out of that. The seat becomes too big, the seat becomes too small. And we have to look at that and be honest with ourselves. Okay. So who do you have that's in stress? Who do you have that might be bored? Ask yourself that question. Kind of take a sheet of paper, draw a line. Who might be stressed? Who's stressed? Who's bored? Ask yourself that. So that's through this whole process of hiring first, making sure you have the right hire. Then are they staying in their natural flow? The piece that I add to hiring is also Colby. I'm Colby certified. It's one of our key tools with EOS. So I include Colby in all of the hiring when I help my clients as well, because there's an A, B, and C. And I won't go too deep on it, Beth. Feel free to ask if you think I should go deeper.
We've had David Colby here before, so if people have been listening for and we talk about Colby a lot here.
Okay, good. Good. So I just believe that belongs in the hiring process. It's kind of like nothing is a be all do all, everyone. And I encourage people to take them to lunch, take them to dinner, give them a project that they need to do. Just really do your due diligence. And it depends on the level of the seat as well, right? Entry level versus someone for your leadership team. And then when you go to the fire fast part, is when you start seeing things, you need to do things right away. I mean, Pam, it's like there's so many things that we want to make sure that we have in place. Um, but when you see someone not fitting the values, talk to them within 24 hours, right? It's kind of that line of be their boss, not their buddy. And I don't know if anyone out there, and Beth, you probably do as well, but have nonprofits. And I think they have a harder time on it, right? Some of my nonprofits that I work with, have a harder time because and even some I have a couple of churches in Phoenix, same thing. But they work with family all the time because they recruit their family to help them with these nonprofits. So again, they have to be make sure they're getting the right people in the right seats. And then when you see indicators that the person's not working out, please act on it right away and ensure that they're still the right person in the right seat.
Yeah, and I think that that is such a critical piece, and if there was one issue that plagues nearly all of my clients, it's keeping people in the seat too long. And so I started coaching, and I heard this in the EOS community from somebody, and I can't remember exactly who said it should take you 1 quarter to identify a right people, right seat issue, and 1 quarter to start to solve it. Now, solving doesn't mean that you fire somebody immediately. Sometimes there's timing, right? And other things. But having that sort of timeline in your head sort of then forces you to address the issue. And I find that so many people just kind of go like this with it. They push it off to the side and they're like, well, it's not the time right now. We have to get through this ERP implementation and we just can't do it right now. And then that quarter becomes 2 quarters, becomes 6 quarters, becomes 3 years later.
Yeah, we write about this in the people book a lot to say you need to make your if you're identifying it's not working Q1, Q2, you got to start working on solving it. I s- and you have to solve it. But that happens with even capacity. When you go to mental, physical, emotional, spiritual capacity, unfortunately, people have life. Life shows up in the seats that they're in. Someone gets cancer, someone's going through a divorce. I've had people pull themselves out of seats because of those scenarios. And sometimes they hang on really tight and they don't want to, but we need to help them. We need to help them leave a seat because sometimes that is the right thing for them as
Yeah,
well.
I had a situation and I had a bakery and there was somebody who had a chronic illness and was a critical part of our production staff. And it was so hard to deal with that issue because, I mean, we had less than 50 people. We could have been a little less ethical, I suppose, but didn't feel right about it. And so we kept her in that seat and didn't talk about it, right? And we ended up everybody had to kind of fill in, and then there was a lot of resentment. And, it's like people were really conflicted because they had a lot of empathy for her, but at the same time, it was resentful that they had to pick up the work. And we eventually had to say, "Look, we love you. We're here to support you. We're gonna go beyond what we are required to do and help you, but we must replace you in this seat because this is not working. This is for the greater good of the organization. We have to think about everybody else that's here too." And that was so hard.
Oh, it's very hard. I mean, the definition of greater good, right, that we write about in the People Book is greater good equals every word of your VTO, your vision traction organizer, multiplied by genuine care and concern. Now, genuine care and concern isn't, as I say, all kumbaya, hugging and kissing, right? Sometimes we have to have those tough conversations. And most of the time, whenever I've had a tough conversation and get to the other side of it, the person's grateful. They were feeling it too. This was the best thing that ever happened to me. Thank you for helping me out of that seat, right? So if we can just keep that in mind, we're actually, when we keep putting it off, it isn't always serving the best need of the business or the person.
Yeah, and I always think about that person driving to work every day, knowing that they're not performing, that they're not meeting expectations. What does that feel like? That feels icky, right? And then, as Renee used to say during our Great Boss workshops all the time, is like when you keep somebody in a seat for your own convenience, you're actually stealing their life.
That's great.
You're preventing them from going and doing and being what they were put on the earth to do, for your own convenience or because of your fear of conflict or whatever. And that's a crime. I mean, people have one life, and when we're keeping them in a seat where they're not performing and it feels icky, it's just not good. So, really, the kinder thing to do is have these tough conversations.
100%. And over the years, I've ran into a lot of people that I've helped out, coached out, literally had to fire. And they've said to me, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, CJ. At the end, thank you very much. And most of the time, you can do it with grace and just be open and honest. And then, because when someone's not working out, going back to like your scenario of the bakery, right? And that person, it wasn't working. They were having a hard time in their seat. And as I say, people are watching. All the other employees are watching how you show up as the leader, how you show up as the manager, right? And when we don't do it well, they're watching us, and that affects whether they're going to want to stay in the business or not. They may leave on their own, and we don't want them to leave. So we just have to do our best to have those open, honest.
Could you talk a little bit more about that idea that as a leader, you start to lose your credibility when you don't address these things?
Yeah, when you are not owning your role as a leader, manager, holding people accountable, if you don't like it, first of all, my first point is if you don't like leading and managing people, you shouldn't be. Get out of it. Don't do it. Right? You know, I enjoy it, even though I'm a visionary, because most visionaries suck at being at LMA. I can say that out loud, right? I did.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's all swears are allowed on this podcast. Bring
um,
the barnyard language.
right. But it's like, okay, if you're not that, don't be that. But if you are, then own it. Own that you're the leader. Own that it's your job to hold people accountable and to, if you think about helping challenge them on the continuum of challenge and the improving their skills, you've got to do that, right? You gotta help them, challenge them, help them improve their skills, and where we start to stress them out because it's too much, then identify that. Identify that it's too much, that the seats become too big for you. Let me help you, right? And this scenario happens a lot because businesses grow. When a business is going from 17 million to 40 million, the person at 17 million may not be the business for 40 million that's headed to 100. And we have to be open and honest about that and think about that. And it's hard. I didn't say it was easy.
Yeah. What are some strategies that people could use when they start to identify that the seat is starting to outgrow the person? What are the EOS tools they could use so that it makes it more humane?
Well, okay, so one of the things that I like to ask my leaders to do, especially when I look at a 3-year picture and there's big growth and even long range goal, number one, it's the accountability chart. And it starts with what is the structure for your business? And if somebody wants to go, like I have a company that says, I'm going from 40 million to 100 million in 3 years. Okay. I want you to spend a clarity break time and I want you to sit down and do that future state accountability chart. What are you gonna need for 100 million that you don't need for 40? What does that look like? And the reality is once it becomes extremely clear of what that structure is, that's the time to start moving to it. Then you have to ask yourself, what are the skills that you need in that seat? Let's take finance and accounting, for example. Certain size businesses are perfectly great with a controller, to use a title, right? A controller level person in certain size businesses is great. But when you get to that 100 million, 200 million, and you're getting up there, no, you need to move to a CFO. And what does that CFO for you look like? Do you need experience with balance sheet, P&Ls, um, financial analysis, all those things, right? So the seat just changes. That does not mean the person that's sitting in a controller seat would lose their job. It means you might have to hire someone else. You just got to think through all those details of what's the structure first. What are the seats I have? Future state accountability chart helps you think to the future. And then you just need to use that people analyzer, always making sure that you have the right people from the value standpoint, they are in the right seats. Always, always comparing that back to your VTO, your 2-page business plan that's telling us where we're going. Is that answering it for you, Beth?
It does, and I think it helps the listeners hear it from you, somebody who's led 1,800 sessions, right? And or more than that, actually 2,000 sessions. So what I think is one of the gaps that I see with my clients is that the accountability chart becomes a set it and forget it tool that they don't come back to often enough. So I'm just curious how you coach your clients to use their accountability chart like literally on a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
Well, I'll work backwards. So number one, I do put it into every quarterly. They send it to me, I look at it, I review it, I make sure as we're making decisions that we still have the right accountability chart. But just like the VTO, I say print it, put it on your desk. Your accountability chart should be the same. And then one of my passions for the last really 2 years I've been just drilling down on is mid-management. I call it strong middle. I honestly believe a leadership team is only as good as their middle management. It's just that simple. The stronger your middle management, the stronger you can delegate to them, the more the business is going to break through ceilings. So, as leaders, keep that accountability chart in front of you and make sure you're always looking to having the right middle management, the people that report directly to you. Are they the right people? Then work with them on their quarterly conversations to say, how are your people? Are they grooming someone to take their seat? I believe strongly in succession plans and helping people to grow. Are you grooming the next person to take your seat if you were to move up? So, I guess that's really what I'm thinking is that passion of weekly what's going on with the people that you have, monthly always looking at your accountability chart, and deep diving as a leadership team, are we still strong? Because one of the things that we ask is what people issues do we have? Sometimes, once in a while, I have none. That's interesting to me always when someone says they have none. I'm like, "Okay, really?" But then they do put the people up. I'm like, "Okay, what are the issues? Let's use our tools to make sure."
Yeah. Yeah, and it's always interesting to ask, like, well, that's so interesting. And you're thinking in your head, well, you only got 60% of your rocks completed. I see that your scorecard measurables are off. Like all the tools are telling me we don't have the right people in the right seats. And there's an art and science to how we ask questions in our session rooms. But getting people to really think about it and going back to those tools. And I know that it sounds like, okay, have some more orange Kool-Aid, Beth. But it's like, no, really. Like the answer literally is in the tools. If you go back to the tools and you're hyper vigilant, in your use of them, they will do the heavy lifting. They'll help you identify what the real issues are.
Absolutely, 100% agree.
Yeah.
100% agree. Yeah.
Well, I could talk to you forever, about this subject because it's so fascinating to me, and I just see my clients getting all twisted up and tied into knots around the people stuff. I wanna thank you so much for this book. Um, as you wrote this book, because I've had this recent experience when Marissa and I wrote Roll Out, I learned more in writing the book
Yeah.
about the subject that I'm super passionate about than, I ever thought possible. What did you learn about people when you wrote the people book? What was your big aha moment?
There's a couple of them. When we really got to the culture matrix and we really defined command and control, right? If you're very intentional, healthy, so intentional here, healthy across, is we've all worked with someone that's been command and control, most of us, right? And generationally, I even started 16 years ago with a fair amount of visionaries that were definitely command and control. I would tell you 90% of them I got to shift, but some of them just left because that's the way they wanted to run their business. And they burned through people because they figure they can find as many people as they want, so they burn through them, right? And then you've got the bottom right, which is happy accident, which is we start a business, we start it with our brothers or sisters, our mom, our dad, our uncle, and our best friend from college and all those things. And because I actually have some teams that are 30 somethings and some of them that started businesses, I got to them about 4 or 5 years in, and I'm like, "Oh, you guys are happy accident." And they're like, "No, no, no." Well, fast forward 3 years, they're like, "Yeah, we were happy accident, CJ." Because what happened was they all of a sudden had to grow, hired all these people, didn't hire them well, and ended up having to lay them all off, which landed them both scenarios can land you in a chaotic culture. Bottom left, chaotic culture. And if we all look around a little bit, I encourage everybody to look at your businesses because the odds are there could be a pocket of toxicity sitting somewhere. I work with the parent company and then I work with a specific plant. One of the specific departments, they were able to figure out it had toxicness happening in it. And once they went in and tackled those people and that department, it actually started to heal the whole entire plant. It's crazy. So you want to go up and to the right, have that intentional culture. So that piece of the book for me has been gold to be able to help leaders understand where their business really is at. And it's not like you have to think of it as the whole business because there are pockets of things existing. And look every corner of your business so you can get the whole thing healthy and be intentional with it at the same time. So that's one in particular that I loved, and the other one is just really diving into the personal core focus. Personal core focus, of course, we know core focus from our VTO, but when people do the book, page 49, by the way, everyone in the People book, uh, and learning and knowing and we're doing the work on your personal core focus, building your laundry list of things that you do every day, putting it into the delegate and elevate, and then coming up with your statement of, what is it that you're best in the world at and what is your superpower. So mine is to ignite people to do the thing that they keep putting off that will actually give them joy. And my niche is motivation, or said a different way, kicking you in the ass.
I love it. Oh, I wanna do that now. I'll do that this weekend. It'll be fun. Well, CJ, this has been a delight. I learn so much every time you and I talk, and I've learned more today here on the podcast, and I hope my guests have as well. I have one last question for you, and this is a question that I ask all of my guests. If you were to get a tattoo somewhere on your body that either reminded you of the confession that we talked about earlier, or something that you're passionate about, something that's very meaningful to you, and I don't know if you have any tattoos already, but what would your tattoo be and where would it be located?
It's actually a pretty easy one for me. I do have a tattoo. I have a llama on the back of my calf because I went to Peru and hiked 55 miles in 7 days. But if it weren't for the fact that I would be conscious of having such a large tattoo, I would have eagle wings on my back, through my back, with actually the head coming up and over my head. Because I believe as eagles, sometimes we have to dive deep into the water to fish, and sometimes we gotta fly high to see, and so eagles are my favorite. And I'm at the lake in Minnesota, so I've seen them a couple of times. Gives me joy.
Oh, how cool. I would not have thought that for you, but now it all makes sense.
Who knows what you would think?
Oh, I don't know, but I mean, the eagle came out of left field, but I'm like, "Oh, that all makes sense for CJ." Anyway, thanks so much, CJ. I really enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you at a future QCE and training, but, yeah.
It was always fun, Beth. I love you to death.
Thanks to CJ for reminding us that the red flags in a reference check are there for a reason, and that the tools to hire well exist if we're willing to use them. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share with friends who need to hear this. Thanks for listening to Bad Boss Confessional. We'll see you next week.